Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Troll.
(1973 to 1976). Welcome back, baseball fans. 1973-76 Carryover League. We got a big series today in the second round of the postseason tournament in the American League. It is the Detroit Tigers and the Baltimore Orioles in what we sometimes call a friendly battle of first place teams playing across to a division they did not play in the regular season just for seeding purposes. But of course, there is something to always play for. You could fall out of first place, end up in the wild card or worse if you play poorly. That scenario does exist. Nobody's clinched anything, of course. Let's look at the scenarios here. It's an interesting one in the American League. Here, Baltimore and Detroit, both 7 over 500. A simple best of 5 will win this series. The other side of the ledger, Oakland and the White Sox are in first, but with modest winning percentage, separated by half a game, also a best of 5. Baltimore and Detroit could theoretically play a series that lasts long enough where both could still get buys. In other words, it ends with either team at a +6 or in a +8, while the same thing happens out west with both teams ending with a 4-3 or a 5-2, and then Baltimore and Detroit are 1s and 2s in either order. If you're the White Sox or the A's, you're rooting for one of these teams to knock the tar out of each other so that you could do the same thing to your bitter rival and get a bye in the American League, assuming you can hold on and win your own division. Of course, if it all blows up in your face, you can fall completely out of first. White Sox have the Twins at their heels. Oakland is probably safe. The Red Sox are nearby for Baltimore. Detroit, they probably aren't going to fall out of this as far as first and second goes. But this series today between Baltimore and Detroit, some fascinating pitching matchups. Let me look at that now before I go to the games, just to show where we were at. So in this tourney, in this round, it's 3-day games, a day off, and 2 games. So the matchups for Baltimore are Palmer versus Fidrich, righty-righty, Cuellar versus Lolich, lefty-lefty, and then Game 3, Gentry, Garland, a day off, rinse, repeat. So Fidrich and Palmer are starter 9s, so the teams decide to waive the extra inning rule if it comes to that. Meaning that you just play a regular extra innings. I do that with Hall of Fame matchups or when you have 2 starter 9s out there in this case. Game 2, it's Cuellar and Lolich. Neither are starter 9s anymore at their age. They're starter 8s. However, the Orioles contacted the Tigers and said, hey, what if we waive the extra inning rule if it happens and just go and just play it straight up? And the Tigers knew very well why Baltimore made their request, because they've got a much deeper bullpen than the Tigers do. But the Tigers are like, go ahead, Baltimore. If you want us to play regular extra innings, we're fine with that. Go ahead, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They don't care. Tigers don't take any guff off the Orioles. The Tigers are the team that's really kind of changed the history of what my league does versus IRL baseball. In other words, the Tigers played the Pirates in the 71 World Series by bouncing Baltimore. They bounced Baltimore previously in the playoffs. It's almost like the Tigers have taken on the postseason heroics that the Orioles had in the 69 through 71 era, you know? Something close to it. They also played the Mets in a World Series once. So, with that being said, let's go look at Game 1, which opens up in Detroit. Palmer-Fidrich. This is a very easy game to do an analysis of what was rolled by my memory in this particular case. I remember it so well. So Lee May hits a homer on his card. And then in the 6th inning, Grich walks on his card. Belanger singles on his card. Singleton hits a 3-run homer on his card. That's the Earl Weaver pitching defense 3-run homer. 4 runs off of Baltimore rolling their hitters' cards. Nothing else happens for Baltimore. His pitcher is brilliant. Now, what's even odder, the Tigers in the 2nd inning, this Dave Chalk single, a 2-out single for Chalk, is off of Palmer's card, Jim Palmer. Mickey Stanley's homer, it's off of Jim Palmer's card. 7th inning, LaFleur gets a single and steals a base. McAuliffe walks off Palmer's card, but then with the bases loaded, Norm Cash gets out on his. But 5 of the last 6 outs in the game, Willie Horty gets a single off Palmer's card here, is that if you're going to roll Jim Palmer's card, most of the time you're going to fail miserably, and they were fortunate enough just to get the 3 runs. So, this was a very opportunistic winning opportunity for the Orioles, and they won the game 4-3. It was close. Probably could have been a blowout when you think about it. If you're going to keep rolling your own cards enough times, and your opponent's going to roll the pitcher's card enough times, and Jim Palmer's a Cy Young winner, Mark Fitter doesn't get the opportunity to get all the outs accumulated on his own card, you're going to lose most of the time. Detroit did lose, but it was very close. 4-3, and they had the winning run at the plate in the 9th. So I had to bring that up because I remembered the sequence of events that occurred. Mostly because with Orioles and Tigers, you got to be sharp in these games. You don't want to miss an Oriole-Tiger game or broadcast. When you play the top shelf of the sport, every move you make is there's no throwaway innings or throwaway outs. It's almost like World Series baseball in the middle of the summer. So this is why I like this way of the postseason tournament of first place teams playing. Just getting a feel for each other, Game 2, it's Cuellar Lolich. Now, in this game, the Orioles get a single by Shrine. I don't remember where the hits were in this one. DeCinces gets an RBI double 1-zip. It stays 1-zip until the 7th when Blair gets a triple on his own card. Remember that. And Brooks gets an RBI single 2-zip. Bottom of the inning, Cuellar has been sailing along in this with a 2-hitter. So the Oriole pitching is a real thing, folks, and their defense. Bottom of the 7th, though, freehand doubles. Ground ball to somebody not named Brooks Robinson, Mark Belanger, or Bobby Grich. That would be Lee May. Lee May makes an error. 1st and 3rd, 1 out. Jerry Terrell muscles up on his own card, cracks a double. So that's a surprise move. He wasn't even a Tiger, Jerry Terrell. He was a Twin. RBI doubles 2nd and 3rd in a 2-1 affair. But Cuellar gets Chalk, LaFleur, and Kaline out. Mike Cuellar on the roll of 6-7 on his card is single 1, line out the rest. Tigers rolled that 4 times to their frustration in this game. Bobby Grich homers on his own card in the top of the 8th to make it 3-1, and after that, all the scoring. Lolich goes 8 hits, 3 runs, a walk and 4 Ks. Oscar Zamora came on in the 9th, 3 up and 3 down. Bottom of the 9th, it was interesting though. Cuellar got the first out, gave up a couple singles, and then with Dave Chalk, Ron LaFleur, and Al Kaline, 3 righties due up. Baltimore brings in Dyer Miller. But Detroit goes, we got an ace up our sleeve. You think we're going to let Dave Chalk bat? Nah, Jerry Terrell can play third base. We're going to go with our all-star shortstop boys, power versus righties, Tom Verizor. Because Dyer Miller's got an automatic homer on his card, and Verizor's got a homer on 3-6. So Baltimore didn't see that move coming. Didn't matter, as Verizor just popped out in that instance, but it was something the Orioles have to now focus on moving forward in the future if they meet again in the playoffs. Little notes here the teams are taking, little body blows are taken. And then Ron LaFleur flies out on Dyer Miller's card to end the game. So Dyer Miller actually, not Grant Jackson. Grant Jackson has 3 losses this year. So maybe Baltimore's figuring themselves out, realizing let Dyer Miller take up some of the weight at the end. Don't rely on Grant Jackson so much. Baltimore gets a second win at Detroit. 3-1 is the final score. And my goodness, folks, Baltimore really has... I got to say, I'm surprised. I mean, I shouldn't be. Baltimore had the best record in the American League in 1973, though the A's beat them in the LCS and won the World Series. Here's Baltimore right now, playing 23-14 baseball. Reloaded, you could say, after the dismal 72 with Al Bunbury on the team, Lee Mays on the team, Ken Singleton's on the team now. They weren't there in 69, 70, and 71. And so, sure. Yeah, 622 ball, okay. Now I believe. And maybe we talked about the Tigers. Is anybody going to eliminate these old guys? And it's not even an elimination, of course, but maybe it is the Orioles who do finally finish the Tigers off. At least in this round. I just have this ulterior motive with the Tigers going, you know, they're drawing the Orioles into their trap. They're baiting them, going, this is just the second round of the tournament. It's not the playoffs, dudes. It only matters in the playoffs if you sweep us or beat us in our stadium. So, yeah, whatever that is. We have a game 3. And now we go off of script here as the Tigers will send Gary Gentry out there. Gary Gentry, you remember him from the 69 World Series Orioles, don't you? See what I mean? Head games, folks. Gary Gentry was a 69 Met who beat Baltimore in the World Series. He's now an Atlanta Brave in 1973. Tigers went out and got him. 4-6, 3.41 ERA in 87 innings. The Orioles will counter with their youngster, Wayne Garland, a 20-game winner in 1976 that they lost in free agency. In 1975, Mike Torres was a 20-game winner. They traded him to Oakland. And they had better pitchers coming along in their pipeline. But still, Wayne Garland, 20-game winner, 2.68 ERA in 232 innings. The story with Garland, he goes to Cleveland, has maybe one good year, and he's done by 1980. So, Tigers at Orioles. Orioles would love a sweep. They'd have a very clear path, may potentially have clinched it before the end of the round, the top seed of the American League, if they get a sweep here. That's a pretty... Would not have predicted that, again, in spring training, but let's get started. Leading off for the Tigers, it's Ron LaFleur. 311 flies to right. Dick McAuliffe, 6'10", short X. Belanger, 1-14. And with 2 outs, Willie Horton, 2-5, grounds a short. Bottom of the first, it's Bobby Grich. 57 is a K. Belanger, 4-11, first X. Norm Cash, 3-13. And that's a single off his range. Kenny Singleton, 57, short X. Now, here's the gap in talent at shortstop. Verizon's a 3-44, and that's a single. 2 on for Lee May. 69 is a fly ball to right. That's not a sac fly because of the single dot. So it's first and second, 2 outs. And the Orioles have Al Bunbury in the middle of the lineup with his batting average, basically to replace the production of Don Baylor, who's no longer here. Bunbury's more suited to be a leadoff. Let's look at the card. So here's Al Bunbury, more suited to be the leadoff man. Was a Rookie of the Year in 73 with a 337 average and 7 home runs. Has power versus righties and all these hits and extra base hits. So Baltimore needs that production in the middle. They got plenty of dudes who can draw walks. Grich can, Belanger, Singleton. You know. So the guys who walk are at the top. They're using Bunbury's ability to knock a run in with his bat in the middle of the lineup. Here's the pitch to Al Bunbury. 46 off Gentry is double one, single dot dot. That'll get a run in. And you got speed at first base. First and third, 2 outs. Bunbury will not steal. Let Brooksy swing away. 35, single one. And he catches single one. Okay. All right. I've seen it all now. Now I'm starting to figure this out. Baltimore catches single one. Brooksy does. That'll play to run. And this is all part of the Tigers' master plan, I think. Looks like it's going to be a sweep, folks. They're like, yeah, Baltimore, yeah, get your yayas out on us. Okay. First and second, 2 outs. Bill Sharp. 4-4, yep, homer 1-6 off of Gentry's cards. A double to center field. 1 run scores. You going to run Brooksy? It's a 10 chance. We'll run on a 10. He's thrown out on a 12. Well, that didn't work, but figuring that the gods were in their favor, I ran poor old Brooksy from first base on a double at age 38 or 39. It probably wasn't a good idea. Yeah. Baltimore's got a 3-0 lead. Norm Cash. 2-11, rolls it back to the mound. Should Should have been a 1-0 game, I guess, right? Yeah. Bill Freehand, 2-6, base hit. Jim Northrup, 2-7, base hit. 2 on for Mickey Stanley. 1-7, Mickey Stanley. Let's take a look at the card. We got a fun one here, folks. Mickey Stanley, 1975. Oh, he's a great defensive player, but this is a year where he hits righties better than lefties, and that could be very valuable to this team to get him in the lineup more frequently with that spectacular outfield defense. 3 homers, 164 at-bats. They were all against righties. 1-7 homer, 1-13, and you got yourself a game-tying 3-run bomb, Baltimore. That'll quiet the folks here in Charm City. 3-3 game. Tom Verizor, 55, rolls the second. Dave Chalk, 38, pops the second. This is going 5 games, I'm now starting to think. Yeah, this is just... I could play Tigers, Orioles. When you're playing the top, like I say, and you're playing the top teams in the sport, it's much more fun than playing the also-rans. Paul Blair, 66, flies to left. Johnny Edwards, 1-5, flies to right. And Bobby Grich, 6'10", center X. LaFleur's a 3-13, makes the grab. We go to the 3rd inning. Ron LaFleur, 69, second X. Gritchell, 1-20. Your only chance is the error. And you can't get it. Dick McAuliffe, 33. Pops out. Willie Horton, here's a who, 53. Right X. Your right fielder is Singleton, not very good. 45. He plays it into a double. Norm Cash, 67. And that is a base hit to right field. He can't throw either. He's got a +1 arm. Willie Horton will run. 11, 12, 13. Make it 14 for Singleton's arm. Buddy throws him out of the 19. Well, well, well. We got some counter punches and jabs and all sorts of interesting stuff happening today, folks. 3-3, bottom of the 3rd. Mark Belanger, 5'10". 3 rounds in, and the Tigers, on one judge's card, have it 2 rounds to 1. The other judge, you got a split decision here in a tie game. Mark Belanger, 5'10". Catcher's X. Freehand's a 49. Makes the play. Kenny Singleton, 59. Second C. Lee May, 34. Rolls to the 3rd. We go to the 4th. Same number of batters faced in a 3-3 game. Bill Freeham, 210, flies to left. Jim Northrup, 1-9, rolls 3rd. And Mickey Stanley with a big bomb earlier, 59, flies to right. Baltimore's number 5 hitter, Al Bumry, gets the lead off. See, in the 4th inning. 64, catcher's X. Freehand again, 49. It's an out. Brooks Robinson, 66, flies to left. Bill Sharp, 36, center. Top of the 5th. Tom Verizor. He went to the All-Star game, double 1-3, base hit, because he's got a short sample card with a lot of homers on it. And he's just been hitting them all year long till now. Dave Chalk. 37 is a K. Runner at first, 1 out for Ron LaFleur. 59. Flies to right C. And with 2 outs, McAuliffe. 210. That's a homer last year. Not with this card. Fly ball to right. Wrong card. Right idea for the Tigers. Wrong year. That was that was like a 68, 69, or 70 McAuliffe with a 210 homer there. Okay. 3-3 game, bottom of the 5th. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
All right. Garland is a starter 8, which might be not necessarily a great thing because there's this frustrating notion to leave that guy in there until his breaking inning. And you might have more talent just sitting in the bullpen waiting to be used in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings if you wish. Sometimes it works the wrong way. In the case of Gentry, he's a starter 6, and the Tigers are like, get him, just get through 5 innings, dude. Give us a chance. Bottom of the 5th. It's going to be Paul Blair leading off. 3-11, pops to first. Johnny Edwards, 4-10, center X. Your center fielder, LaFleur's a 3-13. Makes the catch. And with 2 outs, it's Bobby Grich. 1-8, walks. Steal off a free hand with 2 outs? Yeah, let's do that. He makes it on a 4. Hasn't stolen a lot this year, but there's always a threat being held on at first. And Mark Belanger is hitting over 300 this year, folks. Unbelievable. 2-8, grounds to short on the plus. That's a single if you don't steal. But then again, the way I always should look at this as, maybe you should, well, if you don't steal, you don't get that dice roll that gave you the plus to begin with. So it's not as if to say, oh, you get the plus because you stole the base. You don't get both. So that's the logic as far as the dice calculation if you're chasing that, you know, the number of times you roll the dice. We go to the 6th inning. It's 3-3. Willie Horton. 4-3. First X. Lee Mays, a 3E10, makes the play. Norm Cash, 2-8. It's going to be double 1-3 base hit. William Freehand, 48, pops to first. And with 2 outs, Northrop, 2-4 pitcher. Well, it's Baltimore's pitching. It's Baltimore's pitching. They've held the Tigers to 3 runs or less in every start. Tigers did maximum efficiency here there with the Stanley Blast. That's been the biggest damage through 2.5 games thus far. Bottom of the 6th, Gentry's breaking inning. And here's the thing. This is the elephant in the room, is John Hiller's magnificent. The other 3 guys in Detroit's pen this year, this is how you beat the Tigers, I would guess, though Baltimore didn't beat the Tigers in this manner. Other teams might want to do it that way. Veal, a lefty setup guy, is kind of okay. Jerry Johnson's pretty bad versus righties. He's good against lefties. Zamora is not that great against lefties. Pretty good against righties. It's really John Hiller and 3 guys. These are Jags, we like to say. Just a guy. Whereas Baltimore has 4 really good pitchers here, including Eddie Watt is a long man, Tippy Martinez, Dyer Miller, and Grant Jackson. So we'll stay with Gentry. It all happened in the first, and then he settled down, and the Orioles starting to look at him as if he's wearing a New York Mets hat out there on the mound. So Ken Singleton, bottom of the 6th. 3-11, grounds the 2nd. Lee May, 2-8, double 1-3, base hit. Al Bumbry, 2-7 is a K, and with 2 outs, it's Brooks Robinson, 59, a roller to 2nd. Gary Gentry magic again in Baltimore. 3-3 game into the 7th inning. Wow. It'll be Mickey Stanley, the offense of the Tigers today. 2-5, rolls a short. Tom Verizor, 46, pops to short. Wayne Garland here. Dave Chalk, 2-6, breaks up the streak with a walk. And Ron LaFleur. I got to double check his stealing. Ron LaFleur. 1-6, let's take a look at LaFleur's card. So, I believe this card of 76, best card in the Tiger offense, and Fidrich both went to the All-Star game, which was played in Philadelphia. Really the first time LaFleur was a star. He also has a great 77 card, I think. 316. Plenty of speed. Eventually a little bit more power comes. A little worse defense comes. Eventually he steals 100 bases for the Expos. But here is 1-6. Triple 1-6. Misses the RBI triple by a whisker there. And that is going to be a single ... LaFleur's at first. Chalk's at third. In the tie game, you're holding LaFleur, of course, as you don't want to just give up a 2-run single if you let him walk to second. So it's first and third. The holding him, it's Dick McAuliffe, Wayne Garland. Tippy Martinez is available, and you would just invite Al Kaline to pinch hit. And so they're going to pitch to Dick McAuliffe. Probably not a good idea if you're Baltimore, but here's the pitch to Dick McAuliffe. 49, and they keep Denton Garland's 4 column. Good for Baltimore, a ground ball to second. Story of this series is that the Baltimore pitching cards are getting hit at the right time enough to keep them tied and up 2 overall in the series. So, bottom of the 7th inning, it is stretch time. 7th inning stretch here in Baltimore. We are listening to Crack the Skies, 1975 debut LP, simply titled Crack the Sky. As soon as this thing reloads, we can look at some of the tracks on it. Something went wrong. Of course, it always does with Spotify, I guess. Here. Hold On, Surf City, She's a Dancer, Ice. The big hits. Crack the Sky played on the radio a lot in Pennsylvania and Maryland during this time. I think they were from New York, though. So they've often been the go-to band for Baltimore home games at Memorial Stadium in our format. Back to the 7th inning. Gary Gentry. 3-3 game. Bottom of the lineup. Will continue. It'll be Bill Sharp. 52 flies left. Paul Blair, 37 is a K. Johnny Edwards, 37, P pops to short. Baltimore has completely fallen asleep after their bonus first inning, fueled by that Brooks Robinson RBI single there on a single one, and then gave Bill Sharp a double chance off the Gentry card. There's a two gift runs, could have had a third gift run. So it's 3-3 in the 8th, and this is that dangerous spot where Garland's going to pitch because he's a starter 8, and you think, well, but really, you have Horton, Cash, Northrop, Freehand. I'm of the, I don't necessarily need Grant Jackson, right? And I know Horton's a killer, but I really want to have Cash and Northrop face a lefty as soon as we can in a 3-3 potential clinching game. So I am going to hook him. I'm going to defy that starter 8 and realize it's Wayne Garland. If it was Palmer Cuellar, I'm going to bring in Tippy Martinez. Let's take a look at him. Because Baltimore could go lefty, righty, lefty quite easily if they need to. This is a 1975 Tippy Martinez card. He was still a Yankee then with a 2.68 ERA in 37 innings. Great against lefties. Walks the righties but doesn't give up homers to the righties yet. He'll come on in the 8th inning in a 3-3 tie and face Horton, probably a pinch hitter, Freehand, and maybe Northrop. Northrop hits a solo home run, then Cash stays in the game, I guess you could say. So here's the pitch to Willie Horton. 55 is a walk. That's the danger, bringing in him to face a righty. Now you have Norm Cash. He's looking over to the dugout going, I'm going to drop a bunt down. I have no hits on my card at his age. He's toast versus lefties. Matter of fact, he platooned with Frank Howard in 73. He only has 10% against lefties anyway. If I really want a bunt or a hit, if I really want to, okay, yeah, bunt for a lead on the road, you can do that. Here's an interesting moment here. They are going to pinch hit for Norm Cash. They don't want to concede to Tippy Martinez, Baltimore. But the pinch hitter is going to be Jerry Terrell. This is an interesting move here. Jerry Terrell will be the pinch hitter, literally baiting the Orioles to leave Tippy in there, saying it's just Jerry Terrell. And you can get him out, because if you bring in Al Kaline, Tippy's gone. And frankly, on deck is Bill Freehand, who's lathering to face Tippy Martinez. So, yeah, let's reclaim the leverage if you're Detroit and go with Terrell, because if you go with the right, he'll just drop a bunt down. You got a runner in scoring position. And because Terrell has no power but just hits, you go righty-righty and then deal with Northrop in the bottom of the lineup. Oh, this chess match is so much fun. Okay. All right, these guys are playing. Yeah, they're gonna just. These are just gonna continue to. They're gonna go to Eddie Watt as will come in to face Terrell now. And the Tigers like, oh, Eddie Watt, huh? Yeah, Eddie Watt's gonna come in and face Terrell. As Martinez faced one batter, and it was Horton. And so now, because they have two lefties on the board, and they also have Grant Jackson. So Jerry Terrell against Eddie Watt. Watt gives up home runs. Terrell doesn't hit any. Terrell could drop a bunt down, move the lead runner in the scoring position. Or you got Al Kaline and Moses versus a righty with power. Kaline has power versus Eddie Watt, but And I like Freehand, Northrop, and Stanley. I think Terrell, as an 8 bunt, is going to drop. And Horton's a good base runner still, right? He's 11. I thought he was better than that. I think Terrell's going to drop a bunt down here. Move the runner in scoring position. He's an 8 bunter. He might bunt for a single. He's going to bunt. Drops the bunt down, and the runner's in scoring position. So there you are. Tigers have the lead run at second base. And it's Bill Freehand, who has power versus Eddie Watt. Now Baltimore's in trouble. Because if Freehand has the homers on his own card and on Eddie Watt's card. The only other pitch you could bring in is Northrop for him. So give the leverage back to the Tigers with Bill Freehand. A runner at second. Here's the pitch to Bill Freehand. 48 off of Eddie Watt. It's going to be a single chance. 1-17 gets it. Now you got runners on the corners, and you got Northrop versus Watt. Now you're screwed, Baltimore. Do you go to Grant Jackson now? And then call it a day, and because he's your guy? And the answer is, yep, they're going to do that too. So they've gotten 1 out on a bunt, and they're going to go Grant Jackson now in a 3-3 game. As the wheels are turning here, and these two teams who frankly don't like each other very much. I mean, this is kind of a historic matchup of so many meetings in the postseason being reprised, Baltimore's nightmares, and they want to sweep desperately, and they're forcing this thing so much. Grant Jackson will be the 3rd pitcher of the inning now for Jim Northrop, plus Mickey Stanley, Verizon, and Chalk. None of these guys are good against lefties. You want to get Kalon in here as soon as you could. It could be right now. Oh, yeah, you got to do it. That's what the move's going to be. So the Tigers are counter-punching again. They're going to pinch it out K-line. Let's take a look at K-line for Northrop. Do they have enough guys to field here? Who do we take out? We took a first baseman out. We're taking an outfielder out. K-line can play first or the outfield, and Willie Horton can play the outfield, and you got Terrell next to infielder. So, yeah, they can field all this. So it's Al K-line with first and third and 1 out. Baltimore, do you want to play back for double play or bring the infield up? Let's look at the card here. I don't see a lot of ground ball Bs on it at all. Grant Jackson's better than righties. Everybody's happy. We'll face Al Kaline. We're going to put the infield back, go for the double play with Freehand at first. Here's the pitch to Al Kaline. 1-3. You hit him. Hit by pitch. Baltimore's just piling on now. Bases loaded, 1 out, and Mickey Stanley. Ground ball Bs on 3, 4, 5, 6, and 11. They're going to bring the infield up. They can still get an infield up double play, can Baltimore. Mickey Stanley, better against righties and lefties. Had the homer on his home card versus a righty, but Grant Jackson's a different cat. He's very good against righties. Here's the pitch to Mickey Stanley. 2-5 with the infield up. It's popped to third. So with 2 outs, it's Tom Verizon. You got one more weapon on the bench. It's Jerry Moses. And Freehand could play first base. This is fascinating. And Terrell could play shortstop. They're going to punch the clock for Jerry Moses. Let's take a look at this guy. Jerry Moses. Oh, yeah, he's got power. He did a grand slam. Yep. Home run 3-5 and 9 on 6. Jerry Moses was a Tiger in 74. 4 homers and 198 at-bats. It's lefties better than righties. Daring the Orioles to go to their 4th pitcher of the inning in a 3-3 tie, completely emptying their bullpen. And there's no, there is the extra inning rule. That's right. A runner would be at second base in the extra inning, so the game theoretically would end in a short amount of time. But Jerry Moses will not provoke a pitching change for Grant Jackson. They're just going to have to deal with this. Jerry Moses, Tigers have emptied the bench. Orioles have almost emptied the bullpen. In this 8th inning, which has been about 20 minutes long, tracking all these moves. Here's the pitch to Jerry Moses. 1-8 just misses, and that is a strikeout. And this thing is over. After all that, the game's still tied. Now we got to put players everywhere. Jerry Moses is a catcher. He'll go to catcher. Freehand's a catcher. He'll go to first base, where Norm Cash was. Jerry Terrell will go to shortstop where Verizon was. Al Kaline will go into right field where Northrop was. Mickey Stanley will go into left field. Willie Horton stays at DH. And that's the defense of the Detroit Tigers at this point. Yep, full defense everywhere. And we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Gentry's got you 7. You got a clean Detroit pen available. Grich, Belanger, Singleton, May. Boy, that's a lot of leaning on Gary Gentry, you know. You're down 0-2 in the series. Do you just punch the John Hiller card now and have him pitch 3-4 innings? Remember, you're not going to play a 14, 15 inning game theoretically. Hiller's a relief 3. He'll get you through the 10th, maybe the 11th. Oh, these teams. This is great. Love it. John Hiller will come in the bottom of the 8th inning in a 3-3 tie. 1973, 10-5, $1.44 ERA, 125 innings. And now it'll be Baltimore's turn to empty their bench to see if they can get a rally going. Tigers, bases loaded there. Could not get the 4th run in. So Gentry and Garland are both off the hook with no decisions. They did very well today after all the runs scored in the first couple innings. John Hiller comes on in the 8th. And he will face Bobby Grich. 2-9, Bobby Grich. It's homer 1, fly ball the rest, and sorry, you already used up your homer 1 mojo or single 1 mojo earlier in the game. That's a fly ball to left. Mark Belanger, 53, first C. And Kenny Singleton. 2-3, grounds the 3rd. Well, Grant Jackson's also relief 3, so he can match Hiller. And then if it goes beyond that, Baltimore is in trouble with just Dyer, Miller. And the Tigers have 3 arms at least. They're not very good ones, but they got 3 arms. Plus, number 4 starters are available. Dave Lemanchik and Rorik Harrison. As they don't need to pitch in this series. We go to the 9th inning. Moses came in for a riser. So it is the number 9 hitter, third baseman Dave Chalk leading off. 4-5 off Jackson's a fly ball to center. Back up top to Ron LaFleur. 2-9, grounds to short. Number 2 hitter Dick McAuliffe, 39. Grounds to first. This game is going to speed up now because there's no substitutions to make. John Hiller, it'll be Lee May. 2-12. Oh, this is not what Baltimore wanted. They got an injury. Fly ball to left B plus an injury to Lee May. Well, all the guys who can play first are not limited to Earl Williams and Doug DeCinces. One of those guys is going to pinch hit for Al Bunbury, who's up next. Well, we'll wait for that call, as we want a pinch hitter. Well, actually, do you want Bunbury to stay in this game now? Yeah, Bunbury will stay in the game now because we just got an injury to Lee May, who limps down the first base line. And trainer comes over. He strained a hamstring, I think. So it's Al Bunbury against the lefty Hiller. 1-6. Let's take a look at the Bunbury card. So he was going to be pulled for a pinch hitter had Lee May not got hurt, but he stays in the game. 6% usage against lefties. It's about 180, 190, whatever. But he's got some walks and extra base hits in that column. 1-6, double 1 and 2 is a base hit. Now you got speed at first base with 1 out. And Moses is actually a better defensive catcher than the starting catcher Freehand was. So that move pays off for the Tigers. They go from a +2 arm catcher to a -1 arm catcher as soon as Baltimore gets a guy on base. 1 out, Brooks Robinson. With Bill Sharp on deck. That'll most likely be DeCinces. And then, or Earl Williams. Yeah, Sharon will most likely go in for Lee May. In theory here. Brooks, do you want to swing away or do you want to... yes, we'll swing away. No hit and run. Brooks Robinson, runner at first being held. Here's the pitch to Brooksy. 2-5 is a strikeout. And with 2 outs, it's Bill Sharp. Batting for Bill Sharp, I'm going to go Earl Williams. Let's take a look at Earl. Looks like Jerry Moses. Got the 3-5 card. Homer on 3-5 and a homer chance on 3-6. -1 arm catcher, like Jerry Moses. It's funny. Runner at first. Do you want to try a stolen base to get in a scoring position with 2 outs against the -1 arm of Moses? Hiller is difficult, is he not? Yeah. No, I don't want to steal a base. I want Earl to swing away. Here's the pitch to Earl Williams. 410, center X, and LaFleur stuck in center field is a 3-13. It's a single ... So you get a hit off LaFleur's defense, but Bunbury ends up at third. He didn't steal the base. And again, it's the same answer I say before. If you steal the base, that data gets recorded, and then you end up with a different dice roll that wouldn't be an E rating on Ron LaFleur. So that's how you kind of rationalize that. Earl Williams singles. You got runners in the corners, 2 outs. And it's Paul Blair. Let's take a look at him. Can't pitch around this guy. Theoretically, you could walk him to face Johnny Edwards, but that just leaves you with Sharoner to Sensei's. And a bases loaded walk wins the game, too. So they'll pitch to Paul Blair. Here's the pitch to Paul Blair. 37 is single 1-5. And when we look up, look at that. Single 1-5 on 3-7 on the Blair card. He gets the single. And that's a walk-off hit for Paul Blair and the Orioles after a bunch of moves that go up and down in different variants. In the last 2 frames, Baltimore gets the hit, walk-off hit, and they get the series win 3-0. Wow. That's like pushing your chips in, folks. Baltimore did all these moves to go for a sweep, and were very fortunate to somehow get it. Al Bunbury gets a hit off a lefty, doesn't steal the base. They get a 2-out hit off of LaFleur's defense in center, and then Blair hits a 1-5 chance on his card. The gods are for the Orioles in this series, with all the matchups the Tigers used in substitution here gave them an advantage. K-Line versus a lefty, Moses versus a lefty, and Terrell with the ability to hit a lefty or get a bunt, a guy in a scoring position. So it just didn't work out for the Tigers, and the Orioles got lucky, and it did work out. So the box here, we can just take this all the way to the end. What a wild finish as far as slowing and grinding it down, and each team flipping all the switches they could flip, trying to outmaneuver the other one. A footnote in the game will be Wayne Garland and Gary Gentry having quality starts. Moreover, both pitchers pitching 5-6 scoreless innings in the third inning and beyond and being pulled. So that's what the game will be remembered for. Hiller only got 2 outs in the 9th, so that's a 5/3. He takes a loss. Not his fault, really. 3 hits, a run, a K. 3 up and 3 down, 8th inning. Gentry, 7 innings of work, gave up 6 hits, 3 runs. Again, that single one by Brooks Robinson in the first inning, a walk and 3 strikeouts. Grant Jackson gets the win. Let me track this 8th inning. So Garland, we know he goes 7. So Tippy Martinez didn't record it out, he just walked a guy. And that guy didn't score. Then the sac bunt is an out, charged to Eddie Watt. Freehan ends up with a single charged to him. And then Grant Jackson went the rest of the way with a walk and a K in the 8th. And then 3 up and 3 down in the 9th. So Garland, 7 innings, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits, the 3 runs, 3 earned runs. And he had a K in this one. Just a walk and a K. There it is. 1-009, 0-1-0-8 and 2/3. 4-9-3-9. 3-2, 1-4, 1-4, 3-2. Tigers put 12 men on base. Baltimore put 10 men on base. Well, Baltimore had all the magic. Orioles magic in this one. It's a 3-game sweep, a 4-3 game, a 3-1 game, and a 4-3 game between some heavyweights in the top of the American League. I would hardly call the Tigers an old team by any stretch. They just got some bad luck. And they had they had the guys, the role for Cash, the role for K-Line, Northrop, all these guys. They had the matchups they wanted against one of the best bullpens in baseball. So the Tigers aren't going to go anywhere. Unfortunately, like we said in the pregame, if one of the teams dusts the other, it's going to hurt the chances of both teams getting buys. Baltimore looks like they're going to get one. They're 24-14. They also beat up Boston recently. So they're on a roll at the right time. They got to hope that the roll continues into the playoffs and they're not one and done. But yeah, 24-14 Baltimore now hitting .242 with a .364 ERA. Led by Jim Palmer, 8-3 with 11 complete games this year. Grant Jackson's now 1-3 with 7 saves, and his ERA is .450. So he has struggled, but today he did not. Offense led by Ken Singleton with 9 homer and 28 RBI in 38 games. But check out the leading hitter on this team. Yes. If you said Mark Belanger, you'd be correct. He's 42 for 125, folks. Mark Belanger's hitting .336. If Mark Belanger's going to hit .336, I'm wasting your time, folks. The Orioles already won this thing. They won the World Series. We're just sitting here in August, September, just wasting away here. Tigers now, they're just 4 over 500. Ooh, in a division where Cleveland, and suddenly thinking, can we catch these guys? Yeah, the Tigers are now 19-15, hitting .256 with a .342 ERA. Fitter's 7-4, 5 saves, all-star year, pitching fantastic. Hiller's lost 2 games, but that was a tough one there. He's given up just 3 runs in 15 2/3 innings. The homers are, no particular player has a ton. Normally Willie Horton has like 10, 12, 15 to lead the club. Willie's had an okay year. 6 homers, tied with Freehand behind Tom Bareiser, still sitting there with those 7 home runs he had before the All-Star break. And really, the hits are all mixed up. You got LaFleur is 43 for 145. He's in .297. Wish you could draw some more walks. Add to that. Does have 15 stolen bases. 24-14, 19-15. Let's continue into putting this information in. The best of 5, Baltimore, gets a 3-0. So Baltimore is 24-14, and the Tigers, look at that, the Tigers were 22-18 a year ago. They're 19-15, and the same number of games above 500, but just fewer games. And the other big picture is the overall standings here. Yeah, Baltimore's got a 5-game lead. They've clinched the East, and moreover, they've probably gotten themselves a bye. They won't play in the 3rd round. But look at this exciting bit of news. The Tigers now, they dumped on the Expos, but the Expos weren't eliminated because Ohio knocked the Indians out, and the Indians lose a tiebreaker versus the Expos when they were swept 4 straight. So the Indians are done. Expos are still breathing. Ohio, though, has a genuine chance. They play the Yankees. If they sweep the Yankees, they could be in a tie. And it could be a battle for who wins the division between Ohio players and the Tigers in the 3rd round of the tournament. That's what the 3-0 Baltimore sweep just did. So Tigers suddenly got, I would just say, really super unlucky there. 3 tough losses. Some highly improbable work that Baltimore got. This comes after the Tigers just dumped the Expos 8 of 10 times. So I guess things all kind of balance out. The Tigers are 8-2. They're 8-5 in their last 13 games, so that's still playing great baseball. Anyway, it's been a fun one, folks, and really enjoyed this. Break up the Orioles. It's a 3-game sweep over the Detroit Tigers. Regular season, postseason tournament, playoffs. It all matters somehow. Thanks for checking out this video. We'll see you next time.